Commander Juan rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the scanner readings for what felt like the 100th time. Something was very wrong with his equipment, or something was very strange about this solar system. The energy readings showed an impossible barrier wrapped around the third planet like a giant invisible bubble. Nari, run another deep scan, he called to his navigator. Lieutenant Nari had been working at her station for hours, her fingers moving quickly across the bright blue controls. Sir, I have run this scan 15 times already. The results are always the same, Nari said, turning to face him. Her face looked worried. There is definitely an energy barrier around that planet. It is perfectly round and very old. My computer says it has been there for thousands of years. Captain Day looked up from his data tablet. He had been reading through old files from the ship's library. Commander, I found something interesting. This solar system is in the ancient progenitor records. They called it Quarantine Protocol Omega. The third planet has a special name too, Terra. The file says, absolute containment required. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone on the ship knew about the progenitors. They were an ancient alien race that had ruled the galaxy long ago. 10,000 years had passed since they disappeared, but their technology was still far ahead of anything the modern galaxy could build. If the progenitors had put a barrier around this planet, there had to be a very good reason. What else do the files say? Juan asked, walking over to where Day was sitting. Day shook his head. Not much, sir. Most of the progenitor records are damaged or written in codes we cannot read. But this file is marked with their highest danger symbol. Whatever is on that planet, the progenitors thought it was extremely dangerous. Nari suddenly made a surprised sound. Sir, I am picking up radio signals from inside the barrier. They are not random, they are organized like communication signals. There are also energy patterns that look like artificial satellites moving around the planet. Juan felt his heart start beating faster. Are you saying there are living beings down there? Yes, sir. My scanners show approximately 8 billion life forms on the planet's surface. They have cities, vehicles, and technology. They are not just alive, they appear to have a very advanced civilization. The three officers stared at each other in shock. A planet under quarantine by the progenitors should have been empty or dead. Instead, they had found a world full of intelligent life that had somehow survived for 10,000 years locked inside an energy prison. This does not make sense, Day said quietly. Why would the progenitors lock away a planet full of people? And how did these people survive for so long without contact with the rest of the galaxy? Juan walked to the main viewing window and looked out at the distant planet. It looked beautiful and blue with white clouds swirling around it. It seemed peaceful, but the progenitors had been afraid of it. That worried him very much. Nari, can you break through the barrier with our scanners? I want to know more about these people, he ordered. Nari worked at her controls for several minutes. I can get some information through the barrier, but it is difficult. The energy field blocks most of our scans. But sir, what I am seeing is very strange. What do you mean? The beings on this planet appear to be at different levels of technology in different places. Some areas show very advanced energy signatures, like they have powerful computers and machines. Other areas look more primitive. It is like they are developing their technology very quickly, but not evenly across their whole planet. Day was still reading through the progenitor files. Commander, I found one more piece of information. The beings on this planet are called humans in the progenitor language. There is a note that says they have something called adaptive lethality. What does that mean? Juan asked. I'm not sure, sir. The translation is unclear. But the progenitors seem to think these humans were very good at adapting to new situations and turning anything into a weapon. Juan felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard stories about species that could adapt quickly to new threats. Such species were often very dangerous because they could learn from their enemies and become stronger with each battle. Sir, Nari called out urgently. The energy barrier is fluctuating. My readings show it is getting weaker. I think it might be failing after all these years. This news made everyone on the bridge very nervous. If the barrier failed, these mysterious humans would be free to leave their planet and explore the galaxy. Based on the progenitor warnings, that might be very bad news for everyone else. How long before the barrier fails completely? Juan asked. It is hard to say, sir. Maybe days, maybe weeks. But it is definitely failing. The energy levels are dropping slowly but steadily. Juan made a decision. Send an emergency message to Galactic Command. Tell them we have found a progenitor quarantine site that is about to fail. Include all our scan data and the archive information. They need to know about this immediately. As the communication officer sent the message, Juan continued to stare at the planet called Terra. Soon, the galaxy would have to decide what to do about the 8 billion humans who were about to be set free. Whatever the progenitors had feared about these beings, the galaxy was about to find out if that fear was justified. The barrier flickered again like a dying light bulb, and Juan wondered if they were witnessing the beginning of something wonderful or something terrible. The Great Council Hall was filled with noise and confusion. Representatives from 47 different alien species had gathered for an emergency meeting. The hall echoed with strange sounds, clicks from the insect-like Zephyrians, musical whistles from the gas cloud beings, and electronic beeps from the robot delegates. Translation devices worked overtime to help everyone understand each other. Ambassador Tay of the Nexari people stood at his speaking platform. He was tall and thin with silver skin that reflected the hall's bright lights. In his hands, he held a data pad containing the most frightening information the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. Fellow council members, Tay began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's speakers. The progenitor files we have recovered are badly damaged. Most of the information is missing or corrupted. But what we can read is very disturbing. The hall grew quieter as delegates leaned forward to listen. Everyone knew that anything the progenitors had feared was worth taking seriously. The files mentioned something called adaptive lethality, Tay continued. There are also references to exponential threat multiplication. These terms appear many times in connection with the humans on the quarantine planet. Chairman Quan raised all four of his arms to get everyone's attention. Quan was very old even for a Vorthan. His people had been in the galaxy since before the progenitors disappeared. His wrinkled face and wise eyes had seen many crises, but none quite like this. I have found something even more shocking in the archives, Quan announced. His voice was deep and serious. There are battle reports here that describe humans defeating a progenitor military expedition. The humans won this battle despite having technology that was thousands of years behind progenitor weapons. A wave of shocked voices swept through the assembly hall. Many delegates began talking at once, their various languages creating a wall of confused sound. The idea that anyone could defeat the progenitors in battle seemed impossible. Representative Ari of the Silicon Collective stood up quickly. Her metal body gleamed under the lights as she spoke. Chairman Quan, that cannot be correct. The progenitors had weapons that could destroy entire star systems. How could primitive humans defeat them? Quan looked down at his data pad and read directly from the ancient files. According to these reports, the humans did not try to match progenitor technology. Instead, they found completely new ways to fight. One report says they used simple chemical explosives in ways that somehow got past progenitor energy shields. The hall erupted in more confused chatter. Delegate Hyo of the Crystalline Empire asked, "How is such a thing possible?" Progenitor shields were perfect defenses. That is exactly the problem, Quan replied grimly. The humans do not just adapt to challenges the way other species do. According to these files, they completely change the rules of how battles are fought. They think in ways that no one expects. On the massive screen at the front of the hall, a live image of the barrier around Earth appeared. The energy field that had contained the human planet for 10,000 years was clearly flickering and growing weaker. Colored lines on the screen showed energy levels dropping slowly but steadily. Ambassador Tay spoke again. The barrier is failing. Our scientists estimate it will completely collapse within days or weeks. When that happens, 8 billion humans will be free to leave their planet and explore the galaxy. A fearful silence fell over the assembly. The thought of 8 billion beings with adaptive lethality spreading across the galaxy was terrifying to contemplate. Delegate Jean of the Peaceful Federation stood up. She was small and fuzzy like a walking teddy bear, but her voice was strong. Perhaps we are being too fearful. Maybe these humans have changed over 10,000 years. Maybe they have become peaceful. Chairman Quan shook his head sadly. Our long-range scans show that humans have been fighting wars on their planet throughout their entire quarantine period. They have never stopped developing new weapons and new ways to fight. If anything, 10,000 years of isolation may have made them more dangerous, not less. Representative Ari's metal face could not show emotion, but her voice sounded worried. What options do we have? Can we reinforce the barrier and keep them contained? That would require progenitor-level technology that we do not possess, Quan answered. The barrier was built by the most advanced civilization our galaxy has ever known. We cannot repair or strengthen it. Delegate Hyo suggested, could we try to make peaceful contact? Perhaps we can negotiate with them. And tell them what? They asked. That we have kept them imprisoned for 10,000 years because we were afraid of them? That seems like a poor way to start peaceful relations. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates wanted to try diplomacy. Others suggested that the galaxy should prepare for war. A few even proposed that they should flee to distant galaxies before the humans were freed. As the arguing went on, the image of Earth's failing barrier remained on the screen. Every few minutes the energy field would flicker more noticeably. Time was running out, and the Galactic Council seemed no closer to finding a solution. Chairman Quan finally called for order. We must make a decision soon. The humans will be free whether we are ready or not. The question is, will we greet them as friends, as enemies, or will we simply run away? The Great Hall fell silent as everyone contemplated the most important decision the galaxy had faced in 10,000 years. Admiral Shin stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, the Conquest. He was a tall Zephyrian with dark blue skin and bright yellow eyes that gleamed with ambition. Around him, his 12 most advanced warships floated silently through space, completely invisible to any scanners. At least that was what Shin believed. Officer Jean, report on the human planet, Shin ordered, adjusting his decorated military uniform. Communications Officer Jean looked up from his control station. Sir, our scans show the humans have very basic technology. They use simple rockets to travel between their planets. Their weapons appear to be chemical-based explosives and metal projectiles. Their communication systems are primitive radio waves. Shin smiled confidently. Excellent. This should be easy. The Galactic Council was foolish to fear such backward creatures. We will make contact, demonstrate our superior technology, and these humans will quickly surrender to Zephyrian rule. The other officers on the bridge nodded in agreement. Captain Day, Shin's second-in-command, pulled up tactical displays showing human military installations. Sir, they have small space stations around their planet and some basic defensive satellites. Nothing that could threaten our ships. Perfect, Shin said, rubbing his hands together. We will approach their planet, decloak our ships, and demand their immediate surrender. Once they see our advanced technology, they will have no choice but to submit. The Zephyrian fleet had been traveling for 2 days since crossing through the weakest part of the ancient energy barrier. Their cloaking technology made them completely invisible to radar, heat sensors, and even advanced scanning equipment. Shin was certain the humans had no idea they were coming. Sir, we are now approaching the human home world, reported Navigator Tay. Should we begin the approach sequence? Yes, Shin replied. Take us in slowly. I want to savor this moment. The Zephyrian Empire will be the first to conquer a quarantine species. History will remember this day. But as the lead scout ship moved closer to Earth, something unexpected happened. Alarms suddenly began ringing throughout the bridge. Officer Jean looked at his instruments in confusion. Sir, I am detecting unknown ships approaching our position. But that is impossible, our cloaking should make us invisible. Before Shin could respond, dozens of human military spacecraft appeared around them as if they had materialized out of thin air. The human ships were smaller than Zephyrian vessels, but they moved with surprising speed and coordination. Battle stations. Shin shouted, but before his crew could react, a voice came through their communication system. Attention Zephyrian vessels, the voice said clearly in perfect Zephyrian language. This is General Nari Park of Earth Defense Command. Welcome to our solar system. Officer Jin's face turned pale blue with shock. Sir, how do they know our language? And how did they detect us through our cloaking? The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in a military uniform. She had short black hair and calm, intelligent eyes. Her expression was polite, but her voice carried unmistakable authority. We have been monitoring your communications for the past 6 months, General Park continued. We know you are the Zephyrian Empire and we know why you are here. Please power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to Earth for proper first contact procedures. Admiral Shin's confident smile disappeared completely. Impossible, he sputtered. Our communications use quantum encryption. No primitive species could break our codes. General Park's smile was small but somehow frightening. Your encryption was quite interesting to study. We made some improvements to it. In fact, your own ships are now broadcasting on our communication frequency. We can hear everything you say to each other. Shin looked around his bridge in panic. His officers were staring at their instruments with expressions of disbelief and growing fear. Sir, Captain Day whispered, our tactical displays show that the humans have somehow taken control of our communication systems. They are not just listening to us, they are controlling our equipment. How is this possible? Shin demanded. General Park's image on the screen tilted her head slightly. You left us some very educational materials when one of your probe ships crashed in our Pacific Ocean last year. We have been studying Zephyrian technology ever since. We always wondered when you would come back for it. Officer Jean made a strangled sound. Sir, she is saying they captured one of our ships a year ago. But we never reported any missing vessels. Because you never knew it was missing, General Park replied, apparently able to hear their conversation. Your probe was on a stealth reconnaissance mission. When it crashed due to a technical malfunction, your empire assumed it was destroyed in deep space. We recovered it from the ocean floor and have been reverse engineering your technology. Shin felt his world spinning out of control. The primitive humans were not only detecting his invisible ships, they were controlling his equipment and speaking his language. Worse, they had been studying Zephyrian technology for months. What do you want from us? Shin asked, his voice no longer confident. Right now, we want you to follow our escort ships to Earth so we can have proper diplomatic discussions, General Park replied. We suggest you cooperate. Your weapons are currently offline, your communications are under our control, and your ship's navigation systems are now responding to our commands. As if to prove her point, Shin felt the conquest begin moving without any input from his crew. The human ships formed a protective formation around the Zephyrian fleet, guiding them toward Earth like shepherds herding sheep. Admiral Shin slumped into his command chair, realizing that his easy conquest had become a humiliating capture. President Kwan stood at the podium in the United Nations building, looking out at the largest gathering of world leaders in human history. Every nation on Earth had sent representatives to this emergency meeting. The atmosphere in the Great Hall was electric with excitement and anticipation. My fellow humans, President Kwan began, his voice carrying clearly through the packed auditorium. Today marks the most important day in our species' history. We have learned that we are not alone in the universe. More importantly, we have learned that we are no longer prisoners on our own planet. Behind him, enormous screens showed images that would have seemed impossible just days before. Factories that had been making cars and computers were now producing strange metal components for spacecraft. Workers who had been building houses were now constructing launch pads. The entire planet was transforming itself with incredible speed. The alien visitors we captured have shown us that there is a vast galaxy full of intelligent life, Kwan continued. They also revealed that our planet has been surrounded by an energy barrier for thousands of years. We have been kept isolated like animals in a cage. But that cage is now broken and humanity is free. The audience erupted in cheers and applause. Some people were crying with joy, others were shouting with excitement. Everyone understood that their world would never be the same. In a secure military facility across the city, General Nari Park was giving a very different kind of presentation. The room was filled with military leaders from every nation, generals, admirals, and defense ministers all gathered around a large table covered with alien technology. Our analysis of the captured Zephyrian ships shows some interesting patterns, General Park explained, pointing to detailed diagrams on the wall screens. Their technology is definitely more powerful than ours in terms of raw energy output. Their weapons can produce more destruction, and their engines can travel faster than anything we have built. Admiral Tay, the head of the combined Earth naval forces, leaned forward. That sounds like bad news for us, General. How can we compete with superior technology? General Park smiled grimly. Because power is not the same as effectiveness. The Zephyrian ships are designed like tools, each one has a specific job and does that job very well. But our ships are designed like Swiss Army knives, they can adapt to many different situations. She pulled up a comparison chart showing human and alien ship designs. Look at their weapon systems. They have incredibly powerful energy beams, but each beam works on only one frequency. If you can block that frequency, the weapon becomes useless. Our weapons are less powerful individually, but we can change their frequency in the middle of a battle. What about their defenses? Asked General Huan, the head of Earth's Space Defense Program. Same problem, Park replied. Their shields are amazingly strong against specific types of attacks. But we have already built weapons that change their attack pattern faster than their shields can adapt. In a real battle, adaptability beats raw power. Meanwhile, in research laboratories around the world, human scientists were working around the clock to understand the alien technology. Dr. Ari Chin stood in the main laboratory of the Pacific Research Institute, surrounded by pieces of Zephyrian equipment that her team had carefully taken apart. The most fascinating thing about their technology, Dr. Chin explained to her research team, is how specialized everything is. Each component is perfectly designed for one specific task under specific conditions. Her assistant, Dr. Jean Park, held up a small alien device. This power converter is incredibly efficient, but only if the temperature stays exactly between 20 and 25 degrees. If it gets hotter or colder, it stops working completely. Dr. Chin nodded. Exactly. Their technology assumes perfect conditions. Our technology has to work in deserts, in frozen wastelands, underwater, and in space. We build adaptability into everything because we have to. In another part of the laboratory, Dr. Huan Kim was working on the aliens' faster-than-light travel system. I have good news and interesting news, he announced to his team. The good news is that their space travel technology is definitely more efficient than anything we have imagined. The interesting news is that it only works in areas with stable gravity. What does that mean? Asked his research partner. It means their ships can travel very fast between star systems, but they have trouble near planets or asteroids or anywhere that gravity changes quickly, Dr. Kim explained. Our slower engines are actually more reliable in real space conditions. Back in the secure holding area where the captured Zephyrian crew was being kept, Admiral Shin watched human news broadcasts with growing horror. In just 2 weeks, the humans had not only figured out how Zephyrian technology worked, they were already building improved versions. This is impossible, Shin said to his fellow prisoners. No species learns this quickly. It should take them years or decades to understand our technology. Captain Day stared at the screen showing human factories producing hybrid spacecraft that combined human and Zephyrian designs. Sir, I think we seriously underestimated these humans. They are not just copying our technology, they are making it better. What terrified the Zephyrians most was not humanity's technical abilities, but their attitude. Instead of being frightened by the existence of advanced alien civilizations, humans were excited. Instead of seeking peace, they were preparing for war. Instead of hiding, they were planning to explore and expand across the galaxy. The humans were not reacting like a primitive species that had just discovered they were not alone. They were reacting like a predator that had just learned about new hunting grounds. In the dark ruins of an ancient facility on a distant planet, something that had been sleeping for 10,000 years began to wake up. The facility was covered in strange metal and crystal structures that no living species could understand. Deep inside the ruins, a faint blue light began to glow. The light grew brighter and took the shape of a tall, elegant figure made of pure energy. This was the last surviving progenitor AI, a computer intelligence so advanced that it had consciousness and memory. It had been dormant since the day its creators disappeared, but the failure of the Earth barrier had automatically awakened it. The AI immediately connected to the Galactic Communication Network and sent a message to the Galactic Council. Within minutes, its shimmering blue form appeared as a hologram in the Great Council Hall where representatives from dozens of species were still debating what to do about the humans. You have made a terrible mistake, the AI said, its voice sounding like wind through ancient stones. You should have reinforced the barrier around the human planet. The entire council hall fell silent. Everyone stared at the ghostly figure floating above the central platform. Chairman Quan was the first to recover from the shock. Are you truly a progenitor AI? Quan asked, his forearms trembling slightly. I am the last of my kind, the AI replied. I have been waiting for 10,000 years for someone to ask the right questions about the humans. Now it may be too late. Ambassador Tay stepped forward. Then tell us the truth. Were the humans a threat to galactic peace? Did they attack your people? The AI's form flickered, and for a moment it almost seemed to show emotion. Peace? No, they were never violent by our standards. The progenitors were a warrior race. We understood violence. We knew how to fight enemies who used weapons and armies. Humans were something far more dangerous than warriors. Representative Ari of the Silicon Collective made a confused electronic sound. What could be worse than a warrior species? What could be more dangerous than violence? The AI paused for a long moment before answering with a single word that chilled everyone in the hall. Innovators. The word seemed to hang in the air like a curse. Nobody spoke for several seconds as they tried to understand what the AI meant. Explain, Chairman Quan demanded. We did not seal the humans away to protect the galaxy from their aggression, the AI continued. We sealed them away to protect the galaxy from their creativity. Every challenge we gave them they solved in ways we never expected. Every technological advantage we thought we had, they found ways to surpass. Every rule of warfare that we knew they completely rewrote. As the AI spoke, reports began appearing on the Council's main display screens. Human ships were being detected near inhabited star systems across the galaxy. These ships looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before, strange combinations of human design and alien technology that should not have been possible. The humans are not attacking anyone, noted Delegate Jean. They appear to be exploring. That is exactly what makes them dangerous, the AI replied. They learn from everything they encounter. Look at those ships on your screens. In just weeks, they have combined Zephyrian technology with their own designs to create vessels that are superior to both. More reports flooded in. Human exploration teams were making contact with various species throughout the galaxy. But instead of asking for help or trying to trade, the humans were offering improvements to alien technology. They were showing other species how to make their own equipment work better. Ambassador Tay reviewed the incoming data. According to these reports, the humans have already helped the Crystalline Empire improve their energy systems by 30%. They showed the gaseous collective how to make their ships more stable. How is this possible? Because humans do not just learn, the AI explained. They innovate. They take existing ideas and make them better. They combine things that should not work together and somehow make them function perfectly. Chairman Quan was reading a particularly disturbing report. This says that humans have taken outdated mining equipment from 3 different species and combined them to create a system that works better than any of the original designs. How did they do this so quickly? Let me tell you about our final encounter with them, the AI said, its voice becoming darker. We brought our most advanced warship to subdue a single human colony. This ship had weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop any known attack. The humans had nothing but primitive chemical rockets and basic computers. And they defeated you? Quan asked in disbelief. They did something we never expected, the AI replied. They pretended to surrender. They told us they wanted to upload a surrender document to our ship's computer. What they actually uploaded was a program that convinced our AI that their surrender message was a software update. Our own ship's computer turned our weapons against us. The council members looked at each other in growing horror. The idea that such primitive beings could trick advanced AI was terrifying. The barrier was never a prison, the AI continued. It was giving the rest of you a 10,000-year head start. While you developed slowly and cautiously, humans spent 10 millennia innovating freely. Every generation built upon the discoveries of the previous generation. They never stopped dreaming of reaching the stars. On the display screens, a new image appeared. It showed President Quan of Earth addressing the United Nations. My fellow humans, the president was saying, today we begin our journey into the galaxy. We go as explorers and friends. We will learn from every species we meet, and we will share our knowledge in return. The progenitor AI's form began to fade. They have been sealed away to protect you from their potential, not their violence. Now that potential is free and the galaxy will never be the same.